Good afternoon, everybody. This is Paul Ura. We'll get started in about 1 minute. Can I get a mic check and also a screen check? Thank you. We'll be going in about 1 minute. Stand by. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Paul Ura at the National Weather Service office here in New Braunfels, Texas. This will be the last of our weekly winter weather briefings at 2 p.m. Some of the important updates that we have, obviously the storm system is past, and so the rain is pushed east, the ice is pushed east, and so now we're just going to be dealing with some cold temperatures. There is a hard freeze expected tonight. We'll review that. And again, this is the last briefing that we're going to have for this event. As with all the briefings that we had this week, it is being recorded, as well as I will get the slides out to everybody as soon as we are done. So with that, let's start. Oh, and by the way, yes, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in your questions feature, and I will get to them at the very end. The main points: a hard freeze is expected tonight. Please remember the 4 Ps: people, pets, pipes, and plants. There could technically be some isolated road issues out there, especially where standing water is still prevalent. I know going in this morning, there were some very large puddles on the sides of the roads on my typical commute here into town. The actual roads, it's windy enough and enough people have been traveling on the regular part of the roads that I think they'll be fine. It's just that those side street roads where the puddles remain, you may get into some isolated ice issues, especially when the temperatures drop below freezing late tonight. But don't know exactly where all those are. It depends on your city and depends on what roads typically kind of hold water a lot longer than all the other roads. So, but it may be an issue. Precipitation has left the area. We did have widespread 1 to 2 inches of rain. I will kind of show a map to show you the best guess rain totals from that. We did have a few icing reports out in Rock Springs. Thank you, Jordan, for that. Out in Gillespie County, north of Fredericksburg, and even got a little bit of some video of some flurries and light snow that was forming late last night as the system was kind of finally making its push east like that. No accumulation of the snow, and then only accumulation was on the elevated surfaces like the trees and the fences that we saw the pictures of. And again, the cold temperatures will prevail all the way through next week. Maximum temperatures look to be below normal for that time, and even beyond that, models are hinting at some more Arctic sort of air. And unfortunately, already on social media, there are already people posting things like from 10 and 15 days out. So just like we had with this event, it's going to be a whole lot of rumor control over the next 10 days for us as we kind of get near some colder air that's probably going to be around for a while. Excuse me, that was a mistake here. Okay. So current conditions at 1 p.m., you can see the temperatures across the region in the 30s in the hill country, 40s elsewhere. That high pressure that was over us over the last several days has now shifted far east. The low pressure area that brought in a lot of the rainfall last night is now pushed east, and what we're having is high pressure over the Rockies, and that is going to be kind of continuing to move in our general direction, basically reinforcing the cold air that we actually had over the week, and that's why we're going to be getting colder tonight, and particularly as the winds drop off. Some of those wind gusts that we're actually getting out there, over 30 miles per hour in some spots, that is creating wind chills into the 20s and 30s across much of the region. Of course, having cloud cover doesn't help at this point either, because obviously the sun is not out, so it feels like a pretty raw winter day out there. I wanted to show this visible imagery because it's rather interesting in that it's not a loop. If it was a loop, you'd be able to kind of see a little bit better, but what looks to be just all clouds everywhere is actually a mixture of snow on the ground and clouds. This area up here from the Texas Panhandle, New Mexico into Oklahoma is all snow on the ground, including this area across North Texas by around Wichita Falls over toward the DFW Metroplex. Everything else south of that is mainly clouds. One way you can tell is that you can pick out the lakes, especially in Oklahoma, where the snow is not on top of the lake. And so you can kind of see all these little circles, and there are all lakes. And you can even pick out some of the rivers, as you can see, the river valleys going through there. So, and then in the Texas Panhandle, you can actually see the Texas Cap Rock. Very interesting feature there as well. With that, kind of just talk briefly about the road conditions. Snowpack up in the Texas Panhandle, still some snow on the ground and still some road issues across Dallas-Fort Worth area and portions of North Texas. Again, if any sort of travel is expected over the next day or two, please check driving conditions on drivetexas.org before you leave. This is a kind of review of the rainfall, basically radar estimated, and some massaging of the data to kind of see how much fell with actual rainfall totals on the ground. You can kind of see areas across our far southeast, upwards of 2 to 3 inches, but very widespread, 1 to 2 inches across. I know at my house here in New Braunfels, I had a little over 1 inch. And that seemed to be pretty average across our region here in the middle part of the I-35 corridor, but a good welcome rain and a good soaking rain, as it literally kind of took about 12 hours or so for all of that to make it down to the ground. Okay, so let's talk about tonight. Hard freeze is expected, possibly low 20s. Can't say that there can't be some teens out there in those creeks and river valleys out there, but primarily we're talking about lower to middle 20s in the hill country, middle 20s along Interstate 35, and then you know, upper to middle 20s even all the way to the coastal plain. So pretty widespread freeze and hard freeze across pretty much all of our 33 counties of South Central Texas. And then for tomorrow afternoon on Saturday, we are expecting a warm up into the 50s. So that'll be the warmest we've been in several days. And then very, very briefly, just remember, if you want to get a point information about, or at least a point sampling of your forecast information from your exact latitude, longitude, the Forecast Points website is a great place to go. These are spring captures for New Braunfels from today, and you can kind of see the nice little maps and graphs that we can get from that sort of website. So again, best thing is to do is to bookmark this with your site that you always want to know the forecast from, and then that way you'll always have the National Weather Service data at your hand. And again, the winter preparedness graphics, we may need these again after next week. So just be prepared for to go to this website to get some. I did a screen capture of one of the Spanish graphics just to let you know that there is Spanish, and then also Vietnamese and even Chinese graphics that are available as well. So again, make sure that you can have access to those. They're free for you to use, and you can use them in your social media platforms and send them out to your jurisdiction as well. There's the main points. I messed up the top there. Again, hard freeze expected tonight, and the cold temperatures will continue again next week. One thing I did want to point you to too is I did put together a survey really quick, and just a few questions. In particular, I really kind of want to know about the probabilistic graphics that we actually showed. And so I have an example on the survey of what I'm talking about, but that's kind of the future of the National Weather Service, of how we present forecast information, especially to our core partners like you emergency managers. So I'd just like to get a little bit better feeling for how it went. Did we present it in a way that was understandable? And is it something that you want to see in the future? So it just takes about 1 or 2 minutes to look at. There's about 2 questions on our survey that I'm asking about. So I'd appreciate if you would fill that out. So again, that's the last one we've got for this particular winter event. I will look at some of these questions real quick. Can't do QR codes. What I'll do is when I send out the slides, I'm going to go back, and on this slide, I'm going to add an actual link. How's that? And that way you can actually then type in the link to actually do the survey. So that'll help with that. Key point slides, again, stand by. Okay, there's the key point slide again. I'll leave that up for a second, Anna. Any precip in the forecast next week to go with the cold weather? No, not really. And when I say cold, the highs are going to be like in the 50s primarily, and the lows in the 30s. All next week, it looks like, give or take a few degrees. So it doesn't look to be anything horrendous. Just the maximum temperature is technically about 5 degrees or so below normal, maybe 5 to 10 degrees below normal. Our low temperatures in the 30s are right around where we should be this time of year. It's the week after that that a lot of models are still kind of now looking at some Arctic air again, kind of pulling down. So overall, it looks like January may shape up to be a pretty chilly month, like it should be in wintertime. But no precip kind of to really talk about as of yet. That's correct. Yeah, so not as cold next week as the week we just went through. The temperatures, it'll still be chilly, it'll still be jacket weather and everything else, but not as cold as we just saw. All right, those are all the questions that came in. I figured there probably weren't going to be a ton this today since everything is kind of wrapping itself up. But I do appreciate everybody that came on today. I do appreciate everybody that was on the webinars throughout the week. And like I said, I'll get this recording out should be pretty quick today, as well as the slides with that new link for the survey. I'll put it on there, and then yeah, and then hopefully we won't talk anytime soon because that just means there's really bad weather coming. But if need be, we'll follow up with these webinars, with some new webinars as soon as the weather looks threatening enough to kind of put some on again. So take care, everybody, and thank you for joining us today.